minutes.
Until it's my turn, then I'm going to run over to.
Wait till it gets into this 5 minutes, yeah.
Gentlemen's time is about ready to start.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director, I appreciate you coming in today. I saw a characterization of this hearing as a GOP FBI grudge match, but I must say that the only grudge that's been seen here is from the Republican side. I think you've done an outstanding job with your testimony today, even when you've been, admitting that there are shortcomings by your office, that mistakes have been made. I appreciate the fact that you are willing to do that, because it's not easy for agency heads to do that, and also, more importantly, to point out the changes that you've made to try and address those concerns. I want to say this too. There's a couple points that have been made here about, you were just talking about the Foreign Influence Task Force, and I know there's a lot of talk about this as being some kind of prior restraint or First Amendment violation, but I want to say that I'm on the side that thinks this is a very important tool for the FBI and the United States government to have, especially with respect to potential intervention or interference, especially by Russian state actors with respect to American elections. There's some people who think, and I'm kind of starting to agree, that one of the reasons some of my colleagues are pushing so hard against this and other aspects of information protection within the United States is because they want to have Russian interference in the 2024 election.
Oh, please.
I certainly don't. So I certainly thank you for continuing your efforts on that front. There was an issue that was raised about whistleblowers earlier in the hearing, and I wanted to bring this up. I know you can't speak to this, Mr. Director, but these are two checks that were written to some of these witnesses, two of the witnesses that testified here, and they are for over $250,000. Now, they came after they gave their testimony, I think by a few days, but from my perspective, this is something that the American public should know when they evaluate the testimony of these individuals. And hopefully I don't know if the majority knew about this but didn't disclose it at the time or what was going on with it, but in my book, this really brings the credibility of these witnesses' testimony into question. And I think we should keep this in mind when we evaluate the allegations that they've made. I also want to say this too. My Republican colleagues have come a long ways from the law and order days of the Republican Party back when I was a kid. Now we're at Defund the FBI. I think one of them selling T-shirts to try and raise money using that slogan. Another colleague is talking about abolish the ATF. Another one wants to say defund the Department of Justice. But as you mentioned in your testimony earlier, the FBI is doing a lot of great work protecting the country from terrorism, foreign intelligence threats, international cartels. There's weapons of mass destruction that you mentioned in your testimony. I appreciate that. And also, there's been a great deal of talk about the domestic terror threats. For me, the planned attempt to kidnap the governor of Michigan and apparently kill her was chilling to the extreme, and I appreciate the fact that you all were able to intervene on that. I want to say this quickly too. I'm running short on time, but the misinformation and weaponization claims that have been made by my Republican colleagues, I want to offer these two articles. One is called, it's by Aaron Blake of the Washington Post, All the Ways Trump, Not His Foes, Sought to Weaponize the Government. And then another one, this is Philip Bump. This is on the Missouri v. Biden case, which was quoted extensively at the beginning of the hearing, a deeply ironic reinforcement of right-wing information. The point of this article is that the Missouri v. Biden decision, which, and I know you can't comment on it because it's pending litigation, but I also think it's being challenged by the Department of Justice, and rightly so, because it's riddled with factual inaccuracies and legal inaccuracies as well. One other article for the record, this is by Lee Littman and Lawrence Tribe. Restricting the government for speaking to tech will spread disinformation and harm democracy. I'd like all of those admitted. And then lastly, with respect to the Hunter Biden issue, there's a letter from Abby Lowell, who represents Mr. Biden. This is to Representative Jason Smith, but I think also to Chairman Jordan as well, that raises the pushback on the allegations. That points out that The investigation began during the Republican Trump administration, was supervised by 2 Republican attorneys general, was carried over by a holdover Republican U.S. attorney. Last point I want to make, I promise I won't run over my time much. I happen to represent the district where we contain 2 of the sites where the FBI headquarters could be moved to. The chairman made a reference to maybe not wanting to fund the move, but I must say, I think I had an office near your building. They've got nets around it to keep parts of the building from falling down and hurting pedestrians. The move is important and also would give you a chance to consolidate. Hopefully you'll bring it to Prince George's County. We'll save $1 billion for the taxpayers. And with that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back. Gentlelady from Indiana is recognized.